What's good, everybody? It's your boy Mike from Super Slabs Comics, and welcome to Free Comic Book Game. I'm here with my main man Ernie Faison, who I think is quite a comic aficionado. Ernie is what I would consider one of the legends in the game. Not only does he have an amazing comic book collection, but quite possibly one of the best dolls and action figure collections of all time. Welcome, bruh. Appreciate you coming on. How's your
Hey,
day going?
man, that was quite an introduction. I don't know if I can live up to all of that, but
Hey,
thank you so much. It's so nice to be here with the legendary Mike Carson himself. Thank you
hey,
for
I,
having me. Thank
I
you.
appreciate that. Uh, Bro, I've been wanting to get you on for a while. Your collection is stellar. And I just want to start off by asking you, what exactly got you started in the hobby?
Gosh, well, when I was younger, there were no black males that were into comic books outside of myself and a cousin that I had. He's deceased now, and I guess I'd always been fascinated by superheroes and from watching them on television as a 70s child. And so it's just started, it evolved from just getting comic books that my dad would buy me when he would go to the grocery store on Sunday mornings. And then the love just continued and developed and evolved. And I guess when I began collecting seriously, it was probably in the early 80s, probably like 1982, 83. I'm thinking because that was when the first LCS came to my hometown, and it was from going there. That's when I first saw bagged comic books, and then from there it just evolved. It just evolved to where I would buy one book to read and then one book to store, just hoping to see if the one that I stored would eventually become valuable. So it was just an evolutionary process, actually.
Understandable.
Yeah.
So, initially, was there any characters that you gravitated to, or certain comics?
Wow.
As a kid, how did your collecting go?
Now, when I began collecting seriously, or just
As a kid,
as a kid,
initially.
initially, that's a good question. It Again, I would go back to my dad when he would go to the grocery store on Sunday mornings. He would come back with a comic book, and they were all particular kinds of comic books. I remember She-Hulk. I remember one of the very first comic books that he bought for me. I believe it was actually Black Lightning #1,
Okay.
and I don't have it anymore. But that was one of the first books that I had. And then there was the Legion of Superheroes with Ty Rock. I remember having quite a bit of those. And then I remember on the Saturday morning cartoons, the Super Friends, seeing Black Vulcan.
Yep.
I remember him, and so go ahead.
It- It's
Yeah,
crazy because most people look at Black Vulcan as the original Black Lightning,
right,
and some people thought Black Lightning was like a knockoff of him, but
right, and
uh,
that's what I heard. What I heard that I think I heard that Black Vulcan was the knockoff. I think it was you guys
he
who told me.
technically he is. So there was a lot of contract issues going on with
Mhm.
Tony Isabella and Black Lightning at the time, and they just decided to just move on and not deal with him at all, and so that's how we got Black Vulcan. So
Wow, that's really cool. There was I just wanted to say this too. The Falcon. Back in the '70s, in the '70s comic books, there was a company called Heroes World. And if
okay,
you look in the old '70s comic books, it's now defunct now, but you could find every kind of superhero action figure, Mego, that you could imagine. And that was when I first saw the Falcon. That was
okay.
the very first. I just wanted to. That was the my introduction to the Falcon.
Yeah, the Falcon, he's a great character. A lot of people give him flack nowadays or whatever.
Right.
I don't understand it, but hey, it is what it is.
Yes.
So let me ask you though,
Okay.
with me as a child, as I collected, I went for the popular, the X Men's, the Fantastic Fours, etc.
Mhm.
But as I got to get a little older and a little bit more mature in my collecting habits, it kind of changed. So let me ask you, how did
Mhm.
that transition from the way you collected as a child up until when you were an adult, when you actually had the, more conscious decisions about what you actually wanted to digest?
Yeah, well, always fascinated with superheroes. And as an only child, I had to amuse myself in a lot of ways. And there was no better way to amuse myself than with comic books and music, of course, but comic books were really what I gravitated to. But I can remember my earliest memory of really taking it, I guess it was when the new Teen Titans came out in the 80s. I really liked that series. Just began reading it and reading it. And then I began to collect those issues. And then I just gravitated to the X-Men. Once I learned
Okay.
about the X-Men, I really took to the X-Men like fish to water, man. Anything X-Men related, I was gung ho to get the X-Men. And then when I went into the local comic book store and saw the bag books, then I said, "Oh man, the books that I have are in better shape than these," And then I began to order them.
Okay.
I sought out catalogs that were sought out comic book companies that were advertising in the comic books. There was a company called Moon Dance. I think they're now defunct. And then Mile High Comics, I got some of the best comic books that you could ever imagine could be gotten during that time. And so uh, it
What time frame was this? Just so people can get a.
probably, gosh, 82, 83.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember ordering Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 16 from Mile High Comics. I remember that it was like only $1 at that time, but
Out of a
it,
magazine.
out of a magazine. Mile High Comics, they had their hard copy catalogs,
Okay.
and it was a black and white catalog. Any book that you could possibly imagine, and they had it like from, and I can see them now. They had them like in mint, near mint, on down to very good. And the books that they had, like I remember giant size X-Men, but being like I want to say like $500 or $200 at that time, and I got when I would order from Mile High Comics, the books that I got were pristine. I mean, they looked like they had been just minted off the presses.
Yeah.
Now, yeah. So um, Mile High played a huge part, and then it became like a game to me to see which book I could get in the best possible condition, and then it really took on a life of its own because I was all about the best. I wanted to have the best because
Okay.
there were no black males around. This was a white guy's hobby at that time, and so but it was what it was, and that's how I came to really collect. This was again, this was 80s. This was 80s time,
Okay.
mid to late 80s. Yes, sir.
So is that in that search of just seeing the white dominated
Mhm.
comic book industry, is that when you started to seek out more black characters, black artists, etc.?
No, actually, the well, this was a very this is very important too. In comic books, the characters were very eloquent, and I love the language that they used. Like Superman, I'm going to just this is just an example. Like Superman, I'm going to blast your atoms into oblivion. I'm going to annihilate you. That stuff, man, I just ate those, and so having a mother who was a teacher combined with having the love for the comic books, uh, it helped to develop somewhat of a vocabulary, and it was difficult trying to navigate that with other guys who looked like me necessarily who had not been exposed to that hobby. A lot of times, you can be the nerd, or you have to, for me anyway, I have to kind of adjust my frequency to kind of fit in, and I mean to fit in with other guys who were not into that hobby. But once they were exposed to me, then they developed an interest in it as well, but not to the extent that I did. But that's pretty much how uh, I guess how I came to really discover not just the white superheroes, but the black ones too. It was I just didn't really have an interest in the black superheroes necessarily. It was pretty broad at that time too, with the exception of Storm. I did like Storm. When
Okay.
I would continue collecting on, and then I would go to college. I went to A&T. Then there was a cultural awakening for me, so to speak, because I was exposed to other guys who were like myself, who were not necessarily into comic books, but just who were exposed to different things. And so then came that self love, that self awareness. And then I said, oh my God, I want to get this. And I was like, I remember the Falcon. Then I sought out like the first appearance of the Falcon. Then uh, Giant Size X-Men #1, that kind of, if I could get one at that time for Storm, any Storm related. Oh, I forgot too, Monica Rambeau. She was a big influence on me in the early '80s, as was Cyborg too. But yeah, it became an evolutionary process, and then I would still collect, and then I began to seek out exclusively black characters, black superheroes. I couldn't get enough of it, as well as with toy collecting and doll collecting as well. That became my focus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned doll collecting toys.
Hmm.
I'm assuming action figures as well.
Yes, sir.
Uh, Personally, I'm a novice to these types of collectibles, so I'm hoping you can walk me through some of the different pieces in your collection and the significance that they hold.
Sure, sure. Well, I pulled a few, and
Okay.
I've posted them before in the group, but I'll share them with you in person since I have them here. But probably this guy right here is a very important piece right here. This is the DC Superpowers collection. This is Cyborg,
Okay.
and I got this guy when I was in high school. Uh, he was one of my high school graduation. Uh, it wasn't a present, but I was able to get him from getting high school graduation money. I saved up for him and I got him, and he cost me $200 back in 1987. But this is one of the figures that has now just the he's I think he's probably the most valuable figure of this entire series,
Let
or
me
one of
zoom
them.
out for
Anything.
it. Get a good look on it.
Can you see him?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so I had this custom case made for him, and I was very proud to have him. And for years, man, I held on to this guy, put him in storage, and just decided to get a case for him. But this is Cyborg, and
And
anybody
that's
who's interested,
probably 80s right there.
this is 1986, I believe. This
Okay.
is no 85. I got him in
85.
87. I got him in 87, but he was produced in 85.
Okay.
So that's Cyborg, and he's available for acquisition if anybody's interested.
Oh yeah.
And then this guy right here, this is one that I had many variations of him, and I missed the chance to get some of the other ones. This is Sunman. This is one of the first Sunman action figures, and he's in really good condition. I had a case made for him as well, and he also came out in 1985. But I bought him later, years later, probably, gosh, maybe 90s, maybe, and stored him, just kept him and got a case for him, and he's also available for acquisition. I'm just saying.
Just
Um,
for a little background information about Sunman.
mhm.
Where did he first appear and everything?
Well, my first knowledge of Sunman came about in the Ebony magazines. There
Okay.
was the company was called Olmec, and that was that was the first time that I had actually seen the character featured in Ebony magazine, and so that sparked an interest. And he had a whole lot of other teammates, black teammates, that I just did not get at that time. Just wasn't really interested in them at that time. And then later, the discovery of Sunman came. I think when I went to a Toys R Us, when I saw the actual figure in store, and I bought and this was like the '90s too. I think when I got him, not this one, but another variation of him, in Greensboro. They had a Toys R Us there, and I bought every one that I could get. And there was also figures called the Bronze Bombers.
Okay.
They were little miniature action figures that were also uh, produced by OMAC. So that's where I first learned about Sunman, was in Ebony magazine, and then seeing them in Toys R Us.
Kids just
Oh,
don't know the joys of being a Toys R Us kid these
oh
days.
man, I tell you, oh man, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. And now this next piece right here, this is one of the more popular Mego action figures. This is my 12-inch Mego Nubia in beautiful NRFB condition, and
Excellent condition.
I guess I've had her for, gosh, maybe 25, 30 years maybe. But the case was a purchase that I made probably maybe about three years ago. Actually, once I joined the groups. But this is Nubia, and
Okay.
so yeah, I'm proud of I'm proud to
And what
have
year?
her.
What year is this doll from?
1976.
Okay.
1976. And so these are some of the heavy hitters I have from the collection. You know, I have others as well, but yeah, I thought I'd stick with the theme of superheroes.
And for those out there looking and interested, where exactly did you get your cases at? The custom cases.
There was a gentleman on eBay, and I reached out to him because I also had some 8-inch Mego carded action figures, Captain Dobie from Starsky and Hutch, another guy from Starsky and Hutch. I can't think of his name, but I digress. But I don't know his name offhand. But I reached out to him and was able to establish contact with him outside of eBay, and then it was from connecting with him that I was able to get the cases, because some of the cases he was selling. Like for the
Okay.
Nubia, I was able to get her. I was able to get her and a case for her already made, and then one for the superpowers. But the Sun Man, I actually had to send him the figure to custom make a case
Nice.
for him. But I can find the name and give the name, give the viewers
We'll
his name.
tag that in later.
Sure.
Make it out. So, do you have a preference between comics and toys, or do you kind of feel like they go hand in hand in the hobby?
I think for me, at one time, they went hand in hand in the hobby. You know, with the hobby. If I saw something that I wanted, I would get it. But as I'm getting older now, it's time for me to downsize, so to speak. But to the answer to the specific question, they both held balance for me. I was as interested in one as I was the other. But I think I'm now sticking with the comic books a little bit more than the actual space occupying figures, so to speak.
Understandable,
Um,
because it
yeah,
takes over. This isn't a cheap hobby, and as you
no
start to
sir,
collect these things,
no
and,
sir.
and get over, hey, that space starts dwindling down. So I
It
understand
did,
it.
and a lot of the purchases that I made, they were cathartic purchases too. I mean,
Okay.
it's kind of like, that's where my that's where my money went. Like some people had different vices, but it was for the toys, the action figures, the dolls, the black celebrity dolls, and I just really, once I zoned in on it, man, I just went for it. And
Oh,
anything that I could get that was a black related toy, I went there.
well,
Mhm.
speaking of what, a little birdie told me that you have a deep appreciation for Phyllis Hyman and
Yeah,
Sam Cooke.
yes, sir.
If you don't mind divulging a fellow Sam Cooke fan with a peek into some of the albums and vintage posters that you might have, history like that, in my humble opinion, is unmatched. So that's definitely something that we need to display.
Wow. Well, let's see. With this poster right here, in 1994, um, the company, I think it was Abco, I think that was the name of it. Sam Cooke was trying to start his own record label in the 60s. And shortly after doing that, he met an untimely death, and there were, it was a mysterious death allegedly, but it was believed that because he was starting his own record label and he had the talent to not only start but could produce himself in other acts, that he was eliminated or unalived, as they say. But this
Understandable.
poster is one of the posters that I got when that boxed set was released in 1994, and I had that poster laminated. It's been cut down a little bit, but that's one of my Sam Cooke posters. And I also have his autograph, allegedly, that's supposed to be his real autograph. And this is a boxed set that features 8 of Sam Cooke's original albums. And I listen to those every once in a while, but you know, it's a pretty. A lot of these CDs are out of print because I also have original CDs of the albums that are featured in this box collection. Sam Cooke started out as a gospel singer with the Soul Stirrers, as you will know, and this is a boxed set of
So many
Sam Cooke
left.
singing gospel with the Soul Stirrers. A friend of mine gave this to me years ago, but it's an incredible collection. If you are a true Sam Cooke fan, and you would be remiss to uh, if you didn't get this collection or at least some of his gospel recordings.
Okay.
And this is
That's
another.
crazy. I didn't know that he started off in gospel, so
Oh
that's
yeah,
pretty dope.
man. He started off, and I'll tell you, he took the place of another guy. I think his name was R R H Harris. I think that's. There are some who would know this, and I'll probably say no, I got it wrong. But I think he replaced another guy. And as the story goes, when he was singing with the gospel group, the Soul Stirrers, a lot of girls would show up to see Sam Cooke singing.
Of course, he was a bad
Yeah,
man. I understand.
yeah, man. And they said that the girls would be, and there was, I think there was a girl, a young lady, we'll say, that they called Sister Flout or Sister Flute or something, who every time Sam would sing, she would just shout and fall out and pass out, and and so he became the featured singer of the Soul Stars, and then just with talent like his, it just could not be contained to gospel music. And so
Okay.
then he began to play with gospel sounds to make other recordings, because a lot of his earlier recordings, they're just the same gospel sounds with the gospel beats, but he just what do you call it, secularized them or made them
Understood.
more commercial,
Yeah.
and he did his thing, man.
So, with tons of new collectors coming into the hobby,
Uh-huh.
what advice would you give to a newbie that's starting in the comic, what you say, hobby or on their journey?
Collect what you like. Whatever your interest is, that's what you need to focus on. If you are trying to collect everything under the sun, trying to keep up with guys like Mike Carson, like Rico Jones and Duran, and a lot of these other brothers in these groups, you can't do it. You have to collect what you like. That's with anything. That's with comic books. That's with toys. That's with action figures. Any hobby. That's my advice. Make sure you can afford what you like. There's no shame in not being able to afford something. Wait until you can, and then you can always improve as you go along. But that is my number one rule. I've fallen victim to Mike Carson's influence a few times, and Rico's brother Rico Jones's influence a few times too. And I was like, no, 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 no. I can't do this. I can't.
Well, hey, that's some dope free comic book game right there for all the listeners
Sure,
out there. So,
absolutely.
why at least have you here? Any books you recommend, or any? I know you got some keys over there that you want to show off.
Well, I'll share with you a few, and then I want to share a reveal with you as well. Let's
Okay.
start off. This is one of my prized possessions, and I've shared this with the group. I've taken photographs of it. Some, I think, question the actual existence of the book, but I do have it, and this is probably uh, one of my prized possessions here.
Oh
This
man.
is Green Lantern number 87, first appearance of our good
Ooh.
man John Stewart in a 9.8, and this is a pedigree book. And this this guy is one of my favorite books, one of my favorite pieces, and I've had a change of heart in just letting John Stewart go. I made peace with the choice that the character made, and I'll share that with you a little bit later on. So he's back in my good graces. Let's shall we say,
There you go.
and
That's people don't know how hard that book is to come by, especially in that grade.
yeah, man.
It's not a book that comes around often, so
No, I
not too many people I've seen personally to hold on to a gift like that. And a lot of us they kind of skip DC books. I don't know why, but
yeah,
I'm a fan. So
yes, sir, yes, sir. And the great Neil Adams, who was an incredible artist
yeah,
during that time, he had a technique of actually making the character seem like it was an actual person. And as I understand it, I think I read that the character of John Stewart was modeled after Sidney Poitier. I think I read
I've
that.
heard that before. Yeah, that's pretty dope.
Yeah. The next book that I want to share was a book that I got in an auction, and it is Fast Willie. This is Fast Willie number 2, and
Okay,
this is a 9/8 white pages. And I would love to complete my
tilt it back a
fast.
little bit.
Take it back like
There we go.
like
Just
this.
there you go. I just want
Okay,
this. There you go. That's right there.
yeah, okay. And
For those
so
of you who don't know, Fast Willie is kind of like the Archie sorts, or people like to say the Black Archie. Uh,
absolutely,
Definitely a tough book to get in the high grade,
yes, yeah,
let alone the 9.8. So,
yes. So I'm very proud to have this book, and I'm hoping to be able to complete the collection eventually if it's meant.
oh yeah,
Um, Now I have 3 other books that I want to reveal or share with you. Would now be a good time to do that?
oh yeah. I hope they got their pens and pads ready for
All
this
right.
heat right here.
Okay. Well, I'm. This is something that I've been holding on to for a long time, and I wanted to share it with you, especially. A few years ago, when I was in one of the groups, uh, the group that you and I frequent, I believe it is. I had. Well, let me back up. When I was at A&T years ago, there was a show called the Ebony Jet Showcase. I don't know if you remember that, but I'm sure that there are some of the viewers who do remember the Ebony Jet
I was a
Showcase.
little tight, but I know what you're speaking of.
You were crawling at that time, but you
There
were
you go.
walking. Okay. Well, I just happened. This was in 1990, I think it was, when they did this spot. They did a spot on Brotherman, the Brotherman comic book. And so after I saw the spot, I said, "Oh man, let me go see if I can support this brother and go get the comic books from the local comic book store." This was in Greensboro, and I went and he, I think they only had 4 issues. There was number one, two, three, 4, and 5, but they only had like number one, number two, number 3, and number 5. And I tried to find the best issues of that book, of those books that I could. So I bought them, maybe came back to my room and skimmed through it, and then I packed them away for years. And then when I joined the group, you and I had a discussion. I posted them. I was going to sell them because I was just ready to let them go. And then you asked me if the books were a first printing, and I said I wasn't sure. How could I tell? Do you remember this conversation?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, and so I took a picture of the issues that I had, and you confirmed that you had reached out to the creator and that he had shared with you that I think number one, there were like 10,000 of number ones, but the issues were not not that many. So something told me to just hold off. I took them back once I found out that I had a first printing, and so I decided to try to have them graded, just for my own curiosity. And so, um, I would like to share with you the grades of those books.
Uh,
Let's let's start with, because the ones that I had graded, I submitted number one, three, and five. Number two was not in the best of shape to reveal, or I'm sorry, to submit. So let's start with number five, and I'll take it out of the. You know, I was hoping for something good, and as it stands, I did get something good. Right now, this is issue number five. The only, um, the
it
only,
has to be the only one on the census, right?
well, I think it's the only one that I've seen on the census, yes. But um, without further ado, boom. This is Brother
Ooh.
Man number five in a 9.8, and at this moment in time is the only one in existence that, I mean, I don't know. I haven't inspected
By
or respect
far, by far.
CGC to know if they have any there, but on the census, this is the only one. This is the only one um, right there, 9.8,
Man,
Brother Man. And I was over the moon when I had it, when I was able to get it graded. So that was pretty special. We were hoping. I'm using the royal we here, but I was hoping. And then number three. This is number three. I was hoping for at least something good with that grade, and surely enough, I got it. This is a 9.8, number three, the only one in the world right now, as we know, as far as I know. You know,
I'm pretty sure it is because for the longest I was the only one with any graded Brother Man
yeah,
comics, as you know.
yes,
And I
sir.
recall you saying that you had some pretty clean copies,
You know,
and
and
that's
all in white pages as well, man. And so I was
that's
really,
amazing.
really, I was really stoked. I was really stoked to have that. And so now it would have been too much to have dreamed of having you know a high grade for number one, but I would just be happy to have it graded, just to have it graded. And so, you know, I would have liked to have gotten a 9.8 with this one, but why not? Number one, first printing, Brother Man, 9.8, the only one in the world at this time. At this
The
time,
only one.
and so and
Oh
look, I
man.
man, I about cried tears of joy when I was able to
Oh
get it.
yeah.
You know,
Because I have two 8.5s and a 9.0. Uh, well, the 9.0 and 8.5 is the first print, then I have 8.5 in the second print.
wow,
Um, or third print, whatever one it is, I can't recall.
that's
But
awesome.
man, that 9.8,
Yeah, man. Well, you're the cause of it.
dang.
You are
Well,
the cause of me actually getting those books graded, because I was going to let them go until you told me that I had a first printing. And so now I'm not so full of myself as to think that there's nobody else in the world that probably has an entire pristine run of Brother Man. But right now, I'm the only one that has it, at least with CGC. So, but I don't know. Somebody else might have some, coming too. But in any
it's
case,
been too it's been too many years to see one of those popping up. So
yeah, man. But
that I did not expect for you to drop that one right there.
but
Sheesh.
I wanted to do it with you too. So, yeah, I was really proud of that, and especially to know that I got those as a college kid. I
Yeah.
was in my 20s when I walked in there, and I just held on to them for all of these years. And I said, well, I said I'll sell them. Then Mike said, "Is that a first printing?" I was like, "Huh, first printing?" So I opened it up, and look, Mike confirmed. So Mike is responsible for these Brother Man books being graded right here, man.
And if I recall, I want to say if it says Irvine, Texas, is the one that says it's the first print or not. I have to go back through my notes. It's been
Yeah,
a while.
yeah,
Um, and that'll let you know it's not the color. People are stuck on it being a blue. It's color.
Hmm.
David said that Dewad. I'm sorry, I don't want to mispronounce his name or disrespect, brother.
Hmm.
I want to say his name is Dewad. Said that the color is just how it was printed. It has nothing to do with the first print or not. So
Okay.
the ones
Okay.
with Irvine text is in it, just man, that is, bro. That's like the greatest book I've seen of
Man,
all the shows I've done on here. That's like,
wow, wow. Well, I'm very honored to share this with everybody. I really am, and I wish I could give all of the group members a, a copy. I really do. So I'm really proud to own those. I really am.
yo, shout out to Brotherman Comics, trailblazers in the industry
Yes,
back in
sir.
the '90s.
Yes,
If you
sir.
don't know, now you know.
Yes, sir.
Uh, so hey, again, I appreciate you coming on,
Thank you, man. Thank
dropping
you.
this free comic book game for everybody out here viewing. Hope they took the the notes, pen and pad down, everything. Uh, any last words you want to leave them with? Suggestions about different dolls that they should seek out, comics, just words of wisdom. Anything you just want to say?
Well, again, I want to thank you for inviting me to do this. This was really special and a long time coming. So thank you again for having me. But again, just to have fun with the hobby and to connect with other people who also like the hobby or love the hobby in whatever you are doing. And so just again, make sure you're collecting with what you like and don't be afraid to ask questions. A lot of times I'll sit back and I have learned so much just from watching you guys do what you do and the discussions that you've had and the revelations that you've shared. And I've just taken it in. I've just been like, I'm like, oh my God, where were these guys when I was coming up? That's what I miss. I wish that I could have had brothers like you and Rico and Duran and Derek and so many others around. But that was my time for what that was my time. And so I did the best I could with what was available to me. But that's just what I would say, man. Just to enjoy yourselves and just collect responsibly and have fun. That's my advice, such as it
Hey,
is.
I appreciate that. Just let you know, guys like you, Rico, you guys are inspirations to me, mentors of sorts, and I look up to you guys. I appreciate you coming on here, dropping the knowledge that we have, and man, I can't wait for people to see this. Like after seeing that,
and and
it's
and I will take pictures of the Brother Man books and all the other books that
okay.
I've shared with you and put them in the room so that the other guys can see them as well.
Very
But
nice.
yeah, man. Well,
All right.
thank you, Mike.
Hey, thank you.
Much
Everybody
love.
out there, hey, I appreciate it. Shout out to Ernie for coming in, dropping some knowledge. Don't forget, he has a vast collection of toys, dolls, action figures, you name it. Any piece that you think that you need to fit into your collection, make sure you reach out to me, or you can find Ernie on Facebook as well. And once again, thank you for coming out to Super Slabs Comics. This is a free comic book game. Peace.